Hi guys, welcome to the part 4 of how to retouch fashion portraits. If you followed me up to this point, I want to say thank you and don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you haven't for more tutorials like this. So in the fourth part of this 5-part series that we've been talking about, I want to talk to you about color grading. I want to show you how to color grade, and a lot of people really get it wrong. They mistake it for color correction, and it is a totally different kind of thing. Okay, so color grading is a means of aesthetically affecting or altering the colors in your images for emotional impact or mood. So what you do with color grading is you want your picture to evoke a particular kind of mood when your viewer looks at them, and this is done extensively in the film world. If you want to broaden your color grading skills and you want to know more about color grading, you should check out color theory and you should check out how movies are color graded. And from there, I think you will learn a whole lot more. But I'm just going to show you how I do it in Photoshop and how I achieve my own color looks and everything. So it's simply done by adding some colors into the shadows and some colors into the highlights and some into the midtones. So I'm going to show you how I do that, and the tool I'll be using for that is this tool called Lookup. And if you don't know anything about Lookup, it's more like Lightroom presets, or you can think of it more as filter, but an advanced one, the filter on your phone, the ones you use for your Snapchat and your Instagram and all. But this is just more advanced than the ones you have on your phone. So I have some that I've created that I use for color grading my pictures. I have some on my store that you can purchase and you can use in your own projects as well. They are really good, and you'll see what I do with them. I have different lot packs available. So this is the cinematic lot packs pack 2. The pack 1 is there on my store as well, and I have some that also work for skin tones. So check them out and purchase them and use them in your projects. So for this particular image, I want to give off some sort of royal vibe, which explains the reason why I chose the color of this fabric, which is gold, and I might later match the color of the hair tie to match the fabric, or I change the color of the fabric a little bit to match that of the hair tie. Later on I can do that, but for now I'm just going to choose the color lookup that I want to use. So let's try this. Okay, now that is giving me a very warm tone, and it's cooling down the shadows a little bit by adding some little bit of cyan into it, and it just gives you this kind of contrast, this kind of complementary color sort of. Okay, so let's try another one and see what this orange and teal looks like. Okay, that looks really good. It kind of warms up the picture totally for me. So if you're familiar with color grading, you probably know a lot about orange and teal. And if you've watched the movie Mad Max Fury Road, they used orange and teal mostly in that movie, that we all have to agree that it's mind-blowing, right? So that's the kind of thing you can use this lots for. Yes, because they work with videos as well. Then there's this one, contrasted cyan. Okay, it's almost like the first same cyan, but this one is much more contrasted and it's more rich in tones. And there's this one that is called deep blue. Okay, I love what this is doing to the shadow, so I'm just going to stick with this one. And firstly, I'm going to remove this color lookup from the highlights, because I don't want it in the highlights. I only want it in the shadows. I want it on the ground there. I want it on these walls, because I love what it's doing. I want it in these buildings. But I don't want it in the sky or in our skin. And I'm just going to come here. Remember blending options. We talked about blending options. So I'm going to come to blending options, and I'm just going to remove the lookup from the highlights and leave it mostly in the shadows. And if I'm not still satisfied with what it looks like, then I can easily go in and use my brush and remove it by using a layer mask. So let me just use this first. Okay, that's looking good. Okay, let me just try this back a little, get that, and feather that more. Okay, I'm going to click OK. So I'm going to come to my layer mask here, pick a brush and remove it from every other part of the image that I don't want it to appear in, which is here. I don't want it in the fabric at all. I'm going to remove it from our skin as well. I'm going to remove it from here. Get to the video. So now this is not going to be a neat smooth work yet, but I'm just going to have to zoom in and perfect the edges. Okay, so I'm just going to remove it from here, and I'm going to remove it from other parts of the images where I don't want it. Okay, so you see that's not totally perfect selection. So I'm just going to zoom in and change my brush back to white in the foreground, and I'm just going to paint it back into those places that I want the lookup to appear. So I'm using X to cycle between the foreground and the background color. I have black as my foreground and I have white as the background color. So if I press X, it's just going to switch those colors for me. And that just makes my retouching quicker instead of having to go there and click each time. Okay, so let me zoom out again, see what I've done. Okay, now that's looking a whole lot better. This is the before and this is the after. So I love what the shadow is looking like now, but it's looking too strong to me, so I'm going to reduce the opacity. Okay, still going to reduce the opacity a little more. Remember, I want to alter this color so that they can have a lot more emotions in it. I want it to be stronger than it looks. I want the picture to have more mood of royalty to it. So to do that, I can contrast the colors by adding some blues and cyans into the shadows, and I can make a skin pop by adding some orange and yellows into it because those colors are complementary on the color wheel. So check out color theory, and what I'm saying will make a whole lot of sense to you. Okay, so this is the before, it is the after. So I'm just going to go in now. I had more color lookup, so I'm going to add one for the sky because I want the sky to be more blue than what it looks like. Okay, so let me just find one that is going to pop the sky for me. Okay. Definitely not this one. So I'll just go and pick another one. Okay, I think that is popping the sky for me. Okay, it's giving me more bluish tone there, so I'm just going to use this one. Now I'm going to do the reverse of what I did in the in this color lookup. So I'm just going to double click on the color lookup, go to blending options, and just remove it from the shadows. Remember the other time I removed it from the highlight, so I'm going to remove it from the shadows. Okay. Okay, just going to split that, feather it. Let's see. Okay, that's the before and that's the after. So I'm just going to mask it again and remove it from all these parts of the image that I don't want it to appear. Remember, I want this to pop the sky and make it more blue for me. So instead of just having to paint all over the image again, since I already have a mask here that has a skin tone and the stress off, I'm just going to hold on to Alt and drag this layer mask up and drop it. So it's going to replace the mask at the top. So this is the before now and this is the after. So it's affecting the background, it's affecting the walls here, and I don't want it there, so I'm just going to do the extra work of removing it from here. Okay. I don't want it in here at all. I'm going to remove it from all this bottom part because I don't want it in here at all. I want it to affect the sky wholly. So if I zoom out just a little and I turn this off, see what I have before. The sky is looking blank white, because I showed it on a really foggy day, but there's no details in the cloud. So if I turn it back on, it's going to give me some blue in the sky. So I think I've removed it from some of the sky. So I'm just going to paint back the sky in, just like that. Just like that. Okay, so if you are doing this by yourself, please take your time and fine-tune this and refine this as much as you can so that you have a better spread of this and everything looks nicer. Not try to take your time by showing you the steps because you can easily get them by yourself. Okay. Okay, so now I'm going to go to curves and add some brightness into this image because I feel our skin is too dark. So I'm just going to brighten the picture up just a little, okay, to get that extra pop. Then I'm going to go ahead and add another curves. I'm going to use this to add contrast to the luminosity of the picture. So I'm going to bring up the highlights and I'm going to drag down the shadows to create an S curve. So that will give me more contrast. Okay, let me still bring the midtones up a little. Okay. So the lower you drag this down, or the higher you drag this up, the more contrast you get in your images. If you're using an S curve to create contrast, so like that. So if I turn it off and on, that's the before, and that's the after. Okay, so I think I can just bring down the overall opacity of this curves layer. Yes, I'll leave it somewhere around there and just zoom in a little. That's looking really good. Before and after, before and after. So I think there is the light on her face is not as much as I want it to be. So I'm just going to add another curves and bring that up. And I'm going to invert this mask by pressing Ctrl I, which is going to hide this setting that I've done here. So I'm going to pick my brush again, pick a white brush as my foreground, and I'm just going to paint the face. I think I'm going to paint in this part of her arm as well, where the light is not reaching it. So I'm just going to paint that in, just to give the face a little bit of light. Okay, there, so that looks too much, so I'm going to reduce it. Okay, yeah, okay, now that looks better. So I think I'm going to bring this down and fine tune it, bring down the shadows so I can get more contrast here. Okay, I think this one, I need to bring it down because it seems too much. Okay, okay. So I'm going to do one more thing. This color lookup that I used earlier on, I'm going to bring up the opacity, and yes, I'm going to get more blue in there. Now this one that I use for the sky, it's popping the blues for me in the sky, but I think I need more in there. More color in the sky. I'm just going to come to this color lookup and I'm going to duplicate it and see if I can get the sky to be um, even more bluer. If there's an English like that. Just going to press Ctrl J. I'm going to duplicate that. Okay, yeah. Now that's better. Okay, so I'm just going to go in and fine tune this a little bit more. Okay, because I can see that my brushing is not getting to some parts of the sky here. All right there. Okay. Some parts here as well. Okay. Okay. Like there's one thing that I'm seeing in this picture now, it's that I think the overall saturation is just a tad bit too much. So I'm going to go to my hue saturation layer and I'm going to bring down the overall saturation so that my picture doesn't look so saturated. Okay, so somewhere around there looks good to me. Somewhere around there looks good to me. Okay, now I'm done with my color grading and I'm just going to come down here, hold shift and click to select all the color adjustments that I've done, and I'm going to press Ctrl G to group it, and I'm going to rename it as color grading. And if I turn that off, this is what we have before, this boring flat dull image, and this is what we have after. So you can see that the details in our skin and in the fabric and in the bracelets on our hand, they are popping a whole lot more. They have this royal African mood to it, and that is the whole purpose of the shoots. And the other intricacies like this shadow here is just to give your eye something to look at, is to make your eye more happy when it's looking at these colors. Because if I don't have that background, these walls and this walls and this floors like that, it will still be good, but it wouldn't really you see, it really wouldn't have that strength to it. It wouldn't have the aura of harmony to it. So I had to use that to complement the warm skin tone and the warm highlights that I have on our fabrics here. So that is that about color grading. If I bring down the opacity, just a little, the general opacity of the color grading layer, okay, before and after, before and after. So don't forget that your color grading is a process and you have to take it one after the other. Don't just do things and browse through millions of lot packs, because some lot packs are actually meant for some particular kind of work. Okay, for this particular image, when I had the idea in my head, I knew that I'm going to do a fashion editorial. So I knew that I can go crazy with my color grading. I knew that I can do so much and I can escape the some certain levels of realism. Okay, so I had to bring in those kind of colors and it's giving me something really good. And don't forget, if you want to use my cinematic lot pack, it's available on my store. Go check them out and buy them, use them in your images, tag me in the images you use them in, and let's just bring this whole community together. And I will try to reply as many people as I can, because I really want to see what you guys are doing with the color dot packs. And thank you for staying around. And I will see you in the next video where I'll be talking about how to sharpen your image and how to export it